Hey guys, welcome into another episode of the Fasting Guy podcast. We just recently changed the name, and the last podcast I did, after I'd recorded and edited and published it and all that, I realized that I had used the old name, the Fat Guy podcast. I talk about why we changed it a few podcasts back. I'm not going into it again. Nevertheless, this is the Fasting Guy podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for listening today. Most people that know me just call me Brett. Before I do anything, before I talk about this amazing, potentially life-changing, it's up to you really, Michael Jordan 100-pound weight loss plan, I have to thank the patrons of this podcast. So if you listen to the podcast, you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or any of the other many podcasting platforms that we're on, and commercials annoy you, me talking about what I'm talking about right now annoys you, you want to get the podcast 3 days before anybody else, you want to get the podcast with all that, with no ads, with no fluff, with no long intros, with none of that kind of stuff, then consider becoming a patron. I have some amazing patrons that help me offset the cost of publishing this podcast, and it means the world to me. Randy Decker, Angie Richardson, Eric Barnhart, Cindy Carr, Bessie Williams, Bobby Houston. A few of the perks that I'll give you, I'll mention you in the podcast so everybody knows your name. I will thank you publicly over and over and over again. You'll have my undying admiration. And like I said, we'll give you shortened, no ad versions of the podcast 2-3 days before anybody else gets it on the Patron site. And you go to the front of the line if you have questions. I try to help you as much as I can. A lot of people message me for help and asking questions, and the patrons always go straight to the front of the line. So that's just some of the perks. You want to see what all the perks are? Go to losewithmason.com. LOSEWITHMASON. Losewithmason.com. You can see the perks of being a patron there, and you don't have to. I've provided this information free for years. I'll keep doing that, but if you want to chip in and help out, that'd be appreciated. Another thing you can do to help me before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the day's podcast is give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. You don't know how much that affects who Apple shows this podcast to. When people are searching in the health and fitness category, and let's say they're searching for intermittent fasting or alternate day fasting or OMAD or keto or low carb, and they're searching all this stuff, the way Apple decides what podcast to show them is based on folks ranking the podcast. So if you would go to Apple Podcasts, the page for the podcast, and give us a 5-star, that would be amazing. And you can, leave a few words if you'd like. It's not required, but you can leave a few words about why you like it, or what was something I've said or done that helped you in some kind of way, or why you think it'd be helpful to other people. And I swear to you, that would mean the entire world to me. All right, patrons, let's get to it. This is the Michael Jordan 100-pound weight loss podcast. Now, I fudged a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. Michael Jackson doesn't technically have a specific 100-pound weight loss plan. But what he does have is a plan for success. And he, in my opinion, and I know there's some new guys out there considered the GOATs, you just never will be better than Michael Jordan. And of course, that's always going to be the debate. People of my generation are going to think it was Michael Jordan. People of the newer generation is going to think it's, one of these other guys. But I was searching for, I have this great saying, this great mindset. If you want to be successful, emulate successful people. It's not rocket science. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to have a wheel. Just go to where the guy that got the wheel from goes and get you one, You want to be successful, you want to achieve at the highest levels, find a guy or a woman, either one, that has achieved at the highest levels, and emulate what they do. So I was searching for motivation. I was searching for game plans for success, how to stay motivated, how to stay inspired, how to be at the top of your game, how to crush all of your goals. And I ran across this old article from where Michael Jordan gave his, I think it was a magazine, his 10 keys to success. And he said these were the 10 things that he did every day. Some of them, he said, came kind of naturally. Some, he had to fight every day to do them. And if you're in the weight loss game, you're in the health game, you're trying to lose weight and be healthy, you know it's a fight every day. It's something we can all identify with. So while we're not sailing, from half court to the goal and making amazing dunks and stuff, weight loss is hard. And people that are good at it are superstars. People that have long-term success are a rare breed. Only about 5% of people who lose weight have maintained that weight loss a year later. And only about 1% that lose weight have maintained that weight loss 5 years later. So pretty much everybody fails at weight loss except the upper percentile, a place of rarefied air, the likes of which Michael Jordan and these other guys breathe. So let's jump right into it. Now, I had to modify one of them because it just didn't make sense for weight loss exactly, but it's the same concept that he was given, and that'll be number 7, and I'll point that out again when I get there so you don't say that I changed his rules if you go search for them. His number 1 rule is work hard every day. And I think we could alter this a little bit for weight loss, but essentially if we leave it at work hard every day, that's what it means. You got to wake up and do the work every day. Like, you have to be consistent. I've said this before. The number 1 key to losing weight and keeping it off is just consistency. And if you screw up every now and then, you fall off the wagon every now and then, you don't do exactly your best every now and then, if you immediately jump right back onto the consistency train so that you're consistent 99.9% of the year, working hard every day. Rule number 1, do it every day. I used to teach a group of people in a different kind of business, but we had this rule. It was the DIE principle, the DIE principle. Do it every day. And I got that from somebody that was in sales. And when you're in sales and you go and see people every day, you get said no to a lot. A lot of people say no. But every now and then somebody says yes, and you make a little bit of money. And so this is a brilliant plan for anything. Weight loss, basketball, sales, or whatever. This work hard every day, or my version, do it every day. I'll tell you what they did in what the rule is for sales is at the end of the month, you figure out how much money you made, and then you divide that by how many people it took you to make that amount of money. So let's say if you saw 300 people and you made $5,000, then that's your goal for the next month. Your goal for the next month is to see 300 people, because that's what's going to get you $5,000. So you don't think about who's going to say no or who's going to say yeah. All you're thinking about is hitting those 300 people. And you break that down into how many is it a week, how many it is a day, and you just got to get out and hustle. Same thing as with weight loss. You know what you got to do every day. You know what the work is. The work is staying on top of your macros, keeping the carbs down, whether you're keto or just low carb. You know that you need to move your body around. You know that you need to avoid situations that are going to trigger you emotionally if that's one of your big problems. You know that if you're going to a family reunion or a church dinner or something like that, that you have to pretty much just carry your own food to make sure that you know that you're going to have food there to eat. And you maybe just splurge a little bit there. Maybe most of the food you eat is low carb or healthy for you, and then you take just a little bit of a dessert or something. But if you're one of those churches that has church dinners every Sunday, you can't do that every Sunday and be all that successful. You got to work the plan every day. Work hard every day. That's rule number 1. I promise this is a great list, by the way. You can take notes. I have a list of notes that I keep right on my phone that I open up every day. And I've added this to it. And every morning I get up and I try to spend time being grateful for everything that I have. And I try to focus my mind towards positivity about where it is that I want to go. And then I review these notes that I've collected over time that helps me. And I have added these 10 things to my note. And I highly recommend that you do that. If you start your day in the right mindset, you'll finish the day achieving the goals that you set out. Rule number 2 is ignite your fire. And man, is this big. So there's several ways you can keep your fire ignited. And I'm going to tell you the ones I use. You may come up with different ones. You may copy mine, whatever. So a lot of people will spend their spare time watching movies on Netflix, or I don't know. Their free time is spent doing silly things, or they'll play video games. I don't know what your leisure time is like. But I choose a bunch of my leisure time is dedicated to hopping on YouTube and searching out people that have lost 100 pounds. Search out people that have lost 200 pounds. And you'll find all these videos of people that it'll be a 10, 15, 18, 20-minute video. And you watch it and you get inspired and you see that it is possible and you see that people do it. You can search them out by hashtags on Instagram. And it ignites my fire every day, because you can feel like it's something you can't do. It can very easily become a feeling of, like, this is just something I can't do. And sometimes when you can't convince yourself it's something you can do, you can see that other people did it and convince yourself via their success. So that's the number one way I ignite my fire. Probably the biggest way I ignite my fire is I have a health and weight loss buddy. She's my best friend. She's all about health and fitness, and she's been on a weight loss and fitness goal for quite some time now. We talk, some weeks we talk every day. Some weeks we talk, 1 or 2 days. We may go a week where we don't talk at all. But now when we're really fired up and goal heavy like we are right now, we're every day firing each other up, congratulating each other, encouraging each other, convincing each other you can nail that goal and it's worth it, and that it's worth whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And it just ignites that fire in you every day. Some people use the negative to light their fire. They use something somebody told them. They use a pair of jeans that they keep up beside their bed that every day they try to put on and they see that they don't fit. And they let that anger and that hostility that they can't get those jeans on yet drive them and propel them and ignite them to push forward. I don't know what motivates you. You know that. You need to figure out what is the strongest motivation for you and then use it every day to ignite your fire. Do it first thing in the morning and then do it throughout the day as much as you can. That's a big one. Keeping that fire lit is a big one. When that fire starts to go out, you start making excuses, you start getting slack. Next thing you know, an hour of slackness turns into a day, which turns into a week, which turns into a month, and the next thing you know, you don't care anymore, and it's very hard to get that fire lit again. You got to keep that fire going every day. If you're out stranded in the wilderness and you got the elements and the wild animals and all this stuff to deal with, you don't let the fire go out. You keep that thing burning. Once you get it started, you don't ever let it go out. Same thing with weight loss. Same thing with whatever your goals are. Ignite that fire. Number 3 is be different. Now, this is one of the two that I thought maybe didn't necessarily apply to weight loss all that much. This one I didn't alter. The other one I did. This one I just left it here and I thought I would mention it. The only thing I can say about being different is don't let other people convince you that what you're doing is wrong, because I find that happens a lot. This whole, well, you just got to eat smaller portions and you got to exercise more. And they'll tell you that. Pretty much if you buck that in any kind of a way, you're being different. So if you choose alternate day fasting, intermittent fasting, 16-8, 18-6, 24, 23-1, OMAD, whatever, keto, low carb, any of these things, you're kind of going to be different. And especially with the fasting, don't be afraid to be different. Do what works. Do what is sustainable and do what works. And if that takes being different, then do it. How many knows what they tell you to do don't work? That's what I do know. Because I spent a lifetime doing all these things that didn't work. They never worked. So being the same is bad. Not exactly how MJ meant it, but that's how we are transforming it to apply to what we talk about here on the podcast. Number 4 is a big one to me, and I just did a podcast on this. Things I learned in my weight loss journey, and basically from failures. These, things I learned from failing. Failures are never failures. They are times when you learn massive amounts of information. Every time you fail at something, you learn so much that when you jump back up and you try it again, you take what you learned from that failure with you, and you're more empowered, you're better at it, you're more prepared, and you're more likely to succeed. Fail your way to success. When you have a failure, rather than letting it get you down, rather than letting you drag you off the train that you're on, just stop and go, you know what? That wasn't a failure. It wasn't what I had planned, but I'm going to sit here and evaluate what lesson I learned from that. And you need to spend time evaluating it. How did I fail? What caused me to fail? What was the set of circumstances that led up to it? Was it worth it? How do I feel about it now? And then how can I attack that situation in the future? Fail your way to success. Failures are lessons that propel you forward. And I know that to be true more than anything. I have switched, swapped, added on, subtracted from, honed, tweaked, refined what I do to lose weight over the years until I'm pretty confident about where I'm at now. The knowledge I have about the physiology, the metabolism, food, movement, all this stuff. I feel like I probably know as much about weight loss as anybody on the planet, but I only learned it from failure, studying, listening to other podcasts of people that know, watching YouTube videos of people that actually know. But we're failing our way to success. You don't let the failure take you down. Just don't. Number 5 is something that I'm doing this month. My health and weight loss buddy that I told you about, she's doing it this month. High expectations. We have the highest expectations this month. Now, she's been losing weight for a while and she's been killing it. She only has like 15 pounds left, and it's stubborn. The closer you get to your goal weight, the harder it is to lose. If you got 200 pounds to lose, those first 25, 50 or whatever will go easily. The last 15 are very hard, and that's where she's at, and she's continually to buck down and do more and be more persistent about it. That being said, we're in different places, so her high expectations are different than mine, but we both have high expectations. And the great example is this month, her goal is to walk 500 miles this month, which is 1,000,000 steps, which is a lot of walking. It's 15 miles a day. It's crazy amount of steps. My goal is something that is high expectations, 20 pounds. Now, to lose 20 pounds in a month, no matter how big you are, is pretty hard. It's 5 pounds a week. And all of my weight loss, losing all the way down to 125 pounds lost, which is a massive amount of weight loss. I never lost 5 pounds in a week except for the very first week that I went keto. And if you know anything, I think I lost 8 pounds that week. If you know anything, 6 of it was water. Because that's just what happens when you first kick the carbs out. You lose a lot of water. But other than that, I've never come close. 2 pounds when I'm running really good, 1 pound when I was running average. Every now and then a 3-pound week would sneak in there or whatever. Losing 5 pounds a week is insanity. But that is the expectations that I've set for this month, because I know to hit it, I got to nail everything every day. I got to nail the macros perfectly, the calories perfectly. I got to hit the number of steps I want to hit. I need to have a certain amount of level of activity that I want to strive for. And ultimately, if the end of the month comes and I've only lost 15 pounds, I'm going to be damned happy about it. If I've only lost 12 pounds, I'm going to be ecstatic about it. If I've only lost 10 pounds, I'm going to be over the moon about it. But that ain't what I want. That ain't what I'm shooting for. My level, the bar that I've set is very high. High expectations, 20 pounds. And I've set other high expectations with my steps and some resistance I'm doing and things like that. But high expectations causes you to do more because you feel compelled to do more. Number 6 is be positive, and that can be very hard to do, but you got to understand that positivity is one of the greatest motivating factors of all time. And I struggle with that, especially with trying to get steps in. I broke a foot last year. It's actually been almost exactly a year ago. Or it has been exactly a year ago. I didn't get good medical treatment. Developed a blood clot. Nobody caught it. It led to other complications. Nevertheless, I nearly died from it. But that's neither here nor there. My foot is in bad shape. It's very hard to walk on. It blood pools in it, it swells, it gets out of hand crazy, and it's something I have to push through. But I have adopted a be positive about it attitude. It was hard for me to get to that place. But I'm just happy that I'm able to walk. I'm happy I didn't lose my foot yet. I'm happy that it still works for me. I have to keep it elevated a good portion of the day. I have to be very particular with it. But I'm still walking, man. A lot of people's lost a foot or lost a leg. I look at the positive of that, and that's one of my big ones right there. Is that issue with my foot, I'm trying very hard to move past the hostility with the doctors and things. But you got to stay positive. Whatever is negative, find out something positive that's the exact opposite that counteracts it. Like me, the negative is my foot. The positive is that I've got a foot that works. It's jacked up. I don't know if it rises to the level of malpractice. I haven't called any lawyers, and I'm not going to. Sometimes doctors just screw up where they're well-intentioned. I don't know, but I went and got a second opinion, and that doctor didn't realize I had a blood clot either. And once I ever got it diagnosed, every doctor I saw said, "Man, that foot's such an obvious blood clot. Like any doctor should be able to look at it and see, oh yeah, that pretty much looks like a blood clot." So it was very frustrating to me. I don't want to focus on the negative. I want to focus on the positive. Every day now, I have to really make myself stay on the positive side of that thing about that foot. So whatever it is with you, whatever nags you, whatever your negatives are, flip it and make it a positive. See the positive. Focus on it. Number 7. This is the one that I had to tweak. I don't remember what exactly he said. I think he said something like be who you are or something. That's kind of generic and useless for the purposes of health and weight loss. I altered it a little bit to live like you are who you want to be. Live like you are who you want to be. Well, what does that mean? Well, I want to be a person that walks 5,000 steps a day. That's what I want to be. Eventually, I want to be a person that walks 10,000 steps a day. I'm not quite there yet. Although, yesterday, I did walk 13,000 steps. I pushed really hard with a foot that was killing me, by the way. Excruciating pain, but we got through it. I ain't gonna be able to do that every day. My end goal is to hopefully get there where I'm at. But right now, my goal is to be a person I want to be a person that walks 5,000 steps a day. Live like you are who you want to be. If you want to be a person that walks 5,000 steps, you just have to live like a person that walks 5,000 steps. What does that mean? Do it. Now, that's a more straight up, straightforward way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, so you want to be, let's say you want to be, this isn't health weight loss, but I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say you want to be a person who has $10,000 in your savings account. Well, you got to live like a person that has $10,000 in the savings account. And what does a person like that live like? They cut corners. They don't splurge. They don't feel like going to the movies all the time is the most important thing. Or going out to restaurants 5 times a week is the most important thing. Or going to Starbucks or getting lattes every day. They have prioritized what's important to them. And what's important to them is having $10,000 in a savings account. If you want to be a person with $10,000 in savings, you have to live like a person with $10,000 in a savings account. You got to give up the lattes. You got to give up the movies all the time and the eating out, whatever the things are. And for weight loss, it works the same thing. If you want to be a person that's lost 100 pounds, you got to live like the person that lost 100 pounds. And that meant waking up every day, doing all these things we've been talking about in this list. You got to wake up and do them. If you do them, you will be that. You are it now. It just didn't show it. And that's the way you got to look at it. I'm a person that's lost 100 pounds because I wake up every day and live like a person that's lost 100 pounds or 50 or whatever your goal is. Number 8 is have a vision. I think this kind of crosses borders with have high expectations, kind of. But you got to have a vision of where you want to go. All right? Your vision, what is it? You want to be sexy on the beach in a bikini? Or do you want to have great blood pressure, strong heart, fantastic lungs, be slim, not be carrying a lot of excess fat? Do you want to be a combination of the two? Do you want to be a person that's able to pick up your kids and play with them without getting winded? What is your vision? What is that vision? You need to know the vision. You need to keep it in your head. And you need to see it. I know what mine is. And I'm not going to share it with you. But I have a very specific vision. And I can see it plain as day. And I cannot wait until I arrive at it. And it's a reality. And now, It's a lofty vision, but it's an attainable, sensible vision. Like, I'm never going to be a bikini model. I'm never going to be walking around in some kind of crazy spandex shorts or something on a beach. I'm way overweight. When I finish my weight loss journey, I'm going to have saggy, droopy skin. I'm really probably without clothes on, I'm going to look really disgusting. I'm going to be proud of it because it's going to be battle scars of a huge accomplishment, and my health is going to be good. But I ain't going to be looking attractive walking around on a beach. Now, I still may do it. I may be bold enough, brave enough, and proud enough then to do it. But I will know that I look like crap doing it. So my vision is reasonable. It's high expectations. It's a lofty vision that I have. But it's an attainable, reasonable vision. And so you got to have a vision. You got to know what you're working for. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's just your own health for longevity. Or, what is your vision? And keep that vision ahead of you so that you are always striving towards it. Number 9 is a big one, man. Number 9 is a big one. I've done it the past 2 years, and it's been a tough 2 years, and I feel like I've conquered it. And I think my recent results and motivation and drive prove that I've conquered it, but God, was it hard. But number 9 is stop making excuses. Now, I lost 125 pounds. Did it for my mom. My mom was my reason. None of my reasons were for me. And that's part of the reason I had a setback. None of my reasons involved me at all. It was all about my mom. She's fighting a cancer battle. I knew from the day she was diagnosed, the day would come when she would need me to take care of her. And I was a smoker. I was 200 pounds overweight. She walked circles around me at the UAB Medical Center. That's a hospital that's just blocks and blocks of nothing but hospital, and you got to walk it up and down and all around. And my poor old mom, who's fighting cancer, would have to stop and wait on me to sit down on a bench or a chair somewhere and take a breath to catch up. She was the one fighting the battle of her life, and I was the one that couldn't make it. And I had excuses then about smoking. It's too hard, can't quit, whatever. But I did quit. May 29th, 2014, I quit. Haven't smoked one since. Haven't wanted one since. That helped me greatly, helping my mom on her journey. And when the day came that my mom was too weak to fend for herself and she needed care, I had lost 125 pounds. I was the most mobile I'd been since high school. Now, I wasn't a skinny guy by any stretch, but I was able to take care of her. I was able to be there for her, and that was my vision, and that was my goal. But when my mom passed away, grief and depression took over, and I made excuses for that. I would battle my way out of it, but then it would take over again. I'd gain 10 pounds, and then I would get my mind right, and I'd lose 6 of it back, but then I'd gain another 10, and then I'd get my mind right, and I'd lose 6 of it back. But I was never losing back as much as I was gaining, and it just kept happening, and I just kept making excuses. There's an argument to be made that they were reasons. There's an argument to be made that grief is genuine. But it lasted 2 years. It was very difficult to get out of. And you just start finding you're making excuses. And the biggest one was when this shelter at home, when COVID-19 hit. And the next thing you know, I'm laying in bed or sitting in a recliner all day, 24 hours a day, watching Netflix, watching YouTube, watching Hulu, watching Amazon Prime, watching HBO Go, and eating donuts and drinking chocolate milk. And, it was bad. It was bad. And that's where all the kind of holding on and maintaining, just slowly losing ground that I was doing, went off the rails. And I gained 30 pounds in about 3 months. So I was gaining about 10 pounds a month. It's making excuses. Well, I'm stuck at home. What can you do? There's nothing to do but eat. I don't care anymore. Why not even bother? Blah, 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 blah. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse. When the reality was, sheltering at home was the best possible time to get in shape. I had no obligations. I had nothing to do but focus on getting my macros right, my meals right. Had tons of time to work out, walk, try to do resistance maybe. It was the perfect opportunity to kill the weight loss game, to slay it. But I made excuses and screwed up until I got fed up with it. And I was talking to my buddy that I told you about. Everybody needs a buddy. And she was always encouraging me. And then one day it clicked in my head. And I said, here we go. And she said, yeah, here we go. And we locked it in and we dialed it in. And boy, it was tough. It was so tough. And I started trying to walk around again. And boy, I'd got so big and my leg had gotten worse. And that just things had happened. It was so hard to move. Walking 5,000 steps a day was such a monumental problem. But I had stopped making excuses. And so I got the 5,000 steps in a day, and I got the macros right, and I got the calories right, and I did all that stuff. And I started fasting. I was eating like every 4 hours, and I was not sleeping at night. I'd sleep like 4 hours a day, and then when I was awake, I would eat every 4 hours, literally. I was eating every 4 hours. Couldn't control myself. So I'd eat every 3 hours. All day. Basically 24 hours a day I was eating. And I started battling it. The first thing I started battling was that stopping eating. And I tried to put 8 hours between meals. And it was so hard. And then I got to push to 10 hours between meals. And then, man, it took me like probably 5 or 6 weeks it took me to get to the point that I was eating 1 meal a day. But finally, after building my way up slowly but surely, I got to 1 meal a day. And I felt like I had crested the mountain. And I pushed it. I said, I've wanted to do alternate day fasting forever. I believe it'd be highly effective for me. And bam, I jumped off into it and did it for a little over half a month. I did it. And I felt great. I loved it. Probably going to do it again this month. I have high weight loss goals. I have a big vision. Have high expectations. But the point is I made a lot of excuses when I could have been making progress. I was making excuses when I really was in a great position to make progress. 9, stop making excuses. Number 10, have to alter this a little bit for what we're talking about. This is the last one on Michael Jordan's list of how to be successful in life and whatever your goals are. His number 10 thing on his list is practice. Practice applies to ball. It applies to playing a guitar. It applies to playing a piano. It applies to a lot of things. I don't think practice per se applies to health and weight loss. But you can twist it slightly and make it apply. Every day you got to get up and you got to practice your best at hitting the macros right. You may, you may miss them a little bit. You may have to get better at it. You practice it getting, in my case, practice getting the 5 steps in. You may not get it just right or whatever. You just stick with it every day is what it is. You just stick with it. You practice those skills, practice those intermittent fasting skills, practice those nailing the macros skills, practice those getting the steps in skills. Just every day, be consistent with it. I think it goes way back to number 1. I think number 10 goes way back to number 1, which was work hard every day, which I have translated to mean be consistent. And I think that's basically what number 10 boils down to. Be consistent. You got to do it every day. I hope this has helped you in some way. It sounds like fluff. It may sound like fluff to you. It may sound like, he didn't tell me anything substantive today about losing weight. He didn't really give me... Well, I have a ton of podcasts about all these different tools in your weight loss toolbox. And I go into a lot of detail. And I share personal stories. And I share scientific evidence and research studies. And I share a lot of stuff. Motivation is one of the biggest problems. One of the biggest pitfalls. Having a plan is one of the biggest pitfalls. So my overall recommendation to you is do a list like I have. Put it right on your phone. And when you first wake up in the morning, you know what? You may have to go wash your face first and go to the bathroom. Maybe that's what you have to do first. But if you do that, then make this the second thing you do. Sit on the edge of your bed and you look at that list and you go through it. Go through these things I've mentioned. Go through other things that you know. Think about times that you failed and put on there what you learned from it and you're not doing that again. Put what your expectation is. What is your high expectation? What is the ways you failed that you now are going to twist and turn into success? How are you going to be positive? What negatives you have that you want to be positive about? Be grateful. Take time to be grateful. Take time to take a moment and see your vision. Do it. See your vision. Take a moment to kick any excuses out and say, I'm not a person that makes excuses. And then number 7, live like you are who you want to be. Don't accept excuses. I'm not a person that makes excuses. Live like a person that doesn't make excuses. Live like a person that works hard every day. Live like a person that ignites their fire every day. Live like a person that fails their way to success. Live like a person that has high expectations. Live like a person that is positive. Live like a person that has a vision. Live like a person that stops making excuses. If you live like that person, you will be that person and you will achieve everything. I know weight loss is hard. Oh, God, it's hard. There's an addictive component. There's a psychological component. There's an emotional component. And then there's just the food is good component. But you can enjoy food in an acceptable way and remove the addiction part. And getting the carbs out, you got to get them low. And you got to have most of them that you do eat be from real food, like from real vegetables and stuff. You know, greens and salads and asparagus and broccoli and cauliflower. And then you can have a few other carbs, maybe. How many you can have is something you'll have to figure out. I used to highly recommend the ketogenic diet. I still think it's a great way to kickstart your weight loss. I think it's a great way to purge your cravings. I think it's a great way to purge your addictions to sugar. Ultimately, I see a lot of people fail at it around the 3 month to 6 month part because they just miss a few more carbs. And I've learned that I can function with a few more carbs without turning it into a ton of carbs. So for me, it's about putting the time between the food. So OMAD is my minimum. That allows me plenty of time to burn off what few carbs I do eat, which I try to keep below 100, but some days I do hit 125. I have hit 150, but I really strive for around 80, somewhere between 50 and 100, the sweet spot being around 80. And that's an amount of carbs that I think I can burn out from the walking that I do and the moving around I do. I think that's a fair amount of carbs that I can burn out of my system. And I think it's a fair amount of carbs that I can have that gives me just enough of the things that I really like without me going off in the deep end of the things that I would love but are bad for me. That's a plan. That's the plan that I have, and I recommend that plan. You got to use all those tools. 16-8 maybe. If you haven't made it there yet, that's a good first step. If you've tried that and you want to go a little further, 24 or OMAD or alternate day fasting, and then hitting those carbs and calorie counts every day. You got to do it every day, guys. I hope this helps you in some way. If I can help you, let me know. Please leave me a rating on Apple Podcasts. That would be so amazing. A 5-star would make my whole day. You don't even know. And if in addition to leaving the 5 stars, you left a few words about what you like about the podcast or how it helped you, that would also make my day. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you more than you know. We'll talk to you next time. Have a fantastic day.